G'day guys and welcome back today to another video on the Drewzy channel. Today we are talking my mid-season predictions. What's going to happen for the rest of the season. I'm going to give my opinion. Said it before and I'll say it again. Predictions are words before. They're like assholes. Everyone has an opinion. They're all different in their own way. So before you get upset if I put your team lower or higher than you expect, just know that this is just my opinion in my head and everyone has a different outlook on what's going to happen for the rest of the year. I think that we can get to 10k subs after this video today, boys and girls. We're just over 100 away, so if you aren't subscribed, which a large majority of the audience isn't, it would mean the world to me if you could hit subscribe today and try to get us to 10k subs. Comment down below your predictions for the rest of the season and leave a like on the video to support the channel. Let's get into it. In 18th place, I'm going to put North Melbourne, who are currently sitting at the bottom of the ladder. Their form has improved in the last couple of weeks, beating West Coast and agonisingly losing to Collingwood late, which is a game they probably should have won. I just don't know if they can maintain that form throughout the season. So for that reason, I want to chuck North at 18th. I've loved watching George Wardlaw go about it this season. LDU's coming into great form and Sheasel's getting more midfield minutes as well. I just don't know how long these guys can continue their high levels of form when they're such a young, inexperienced side. In 17th, I've got Richmond, who are currently in 17th as it stands. They've had no luck with injuries this year. They're getting games into their young guys. They can't really keep their superstars on the park. Lynch has just come back. But yeah, injuries have not helped the Tigers at all this year. I think they will sit in 17th come the end of the year. In 16th, I'll have the West Coast Eagles, who have probably been better than everyone thought they would be this year, popping up for a few wins. Jake Waterman has been a clear standout for them this year. Harley Reid has been an exciting new prospect on the block, but they really struggle to win away from home. And I don't see them going on any real big run of form to finish the year. So I think they will sit third last and probably pull out a great draft pick like they always do. I have Adelaide in 15th, who are in this position at the time of recording. They just really haven't discovered their brand of footy consistently this year. Their ball movement is so often so slow. When they try to counterattack, it ends up just going sideways, backwards. It's just not what you want to see as a Crows fan after such an exciting year last year. They got stars in the middle and in their forward line, but they're struggling to operate as a complete unit. I think they're pretty average down back. Don't really have all the personnel they need to make the top 8 just yet. There's a lot of pressure on the Crows at the moment, and I don't know if they're going to rediscover true form and finish the season strong, because we haven't seen it yet. So I want to put the Crows to finish in the bottom 4. In 14th, I have the Saints, who are currently sitting in 14th as well. Just really lacking speed and depth in the middle of the ground, I think. They struggled to kick high scores, although they kicked over 100 points against Brisbane on the weekend, but then they conceded like 130. So sort of live by the sword, die by the sword stuff. If they score high, they concede high. If they play boring footy and score low, they generally can't kick high scores. So I'm not a big fan of Ross Lyon. I don't think St Kilda fans really are at the moment either. I just don't think they have the personnel to make a late season run this year. In 13th, I have Melbourne, who currently sit in 11th. I just feel like their midfield is getting a bit jaded. I feel like no Petrarca in there is a massive out. He was probably having a career best year prior to that brutal injury that occurred against Collingwood. Oliver's lack of preseason is beginning to show. He's just not the same player as he once was. Viney's output has dropped a little bit. Without Lever, they're struggling, still struggling for goals, etc. I think you can just put a line through this season for the D's. They could bounce back next year and be a real threatening side once again, but I just don't think they're going to be able to put it together to make finals this season. In 12th, it's a bit of a big call, but I have Geelong sliding down because they currently sit in 6th. I think the last sort of month and a half of footy has seen their midfield get exposed, particularly that game against Gold Coast where Rao, Anderson, Touk Miller just absolutely exposed them, scored massively out of the middle of the ground. So I think we're starting to see what everyone sort of predicted earlier on in the year heading into this season, and that is that Geelong's developing midfield maybe not be able to go the distance in 2024. Their premiership pillars aren't playing their best. When I think of their premiership, I'm thinking Tom Stewart, De Koning, these guys. They're not exactly playing to the maximum of their potential. You got these older guys like Tui, Dangerfield, Hawkins just coming in and out of the side. They can't really get a consistent side on the park week to week. So they are a side that I expect to slide in the second half of the season. A side that is absolutely flying at the moment is Hawthorn, and I predict they will finish in 11th. They're the hottest team in footy right now. It's coming all together for them. The attacking flair that they have in guys like Connor McDonald, the Wizard, Jack Ginnivan, Cam McKenzie, Will Day and Jai Newcomb are bulls that can do it all in the middle. And then they've got some good versatility down back. You got Blake Hardwick, who can swing forward as well. Josh Weddle, James Sicily, one of the best intercepting players of the generation. They've got it all, and it's all coming together for the Hawks at the moment. Sam Mitchell has them playing the Hawthorn way that he knows. Can win flags. However, the slow start to the year may cost them. They're still a young side, so we need to see if they can maintain this form through the deep parts of the season. Thing with this part of the ladder as well is that it's so close. From 6th to 13th, you can win a couple games and end up in the top 8. So I think it's going to be a real tight finish this season. Obviously, I'm not going to be spot on, and a couple of these teams outside of the top 8 could swing in or swing out. It's going to be a real tight finish to the season, with lots of movement in this part of the ladder. In 10th, I have Gold Coast, another team that I could see finishing in the top 8. Pretty much from Hawthorn and down, I can see any of these teams finishing in the top 8. Gold Coast have shown good signs. They had a good win against Essendon at home a few weeks ago. Smashed Geelong up in Darwin about a month back now as well. So they're showing good signs. Their midfield continues to do what they do. Their forward line is clicking. Can they maintain their best footy throughout the rest of the season? I hope so. I want to see them play finals, but I just think there are better teams in the competition at this point. In 9th, and rather controversially, I am putting the Western Bulldogs, who smashed my boys on the weekend. Their ball movement and their pressure around the ground has massively improved. Only, a month ago, Luke Beveridge's job was on the line. They weren't playing good footy. They couldn't get a consistent team on the park. Fast forward a month, I come back from holiday, and they're in that grid of the premiership window right up there. It's crazy how quickly things have turned around for the Bulldogs, and when you've got Marcus Bontempelli in that side, it's no wonder, because that man is an absolute goat of the sport. The reason I haven't put the Bulldogs in the top 8 is just because they've been so inconsistent this season. One week they'll show up and pump a team like they did to Freo, put 150 points on the board, and the week before they lose to Brisbane. They've just been so hot and cold. Their best and their worst has been so drastic this season, so I just don't have the faith that they're going to put a consistent 2 months in to finish the season, but they very well could. I just rate the teams above them a bit more, but this one, bit of a controversial one. Where do you guys think the Dogs will finish? Get down in the comments below. One of the biggest jumps in the second half of the season for me, I think, will be Brisbane, who I'm predicting will finish in the top 8. They're currently in 13th, but the footy they're playing doesn't show that. They obviously had a pretty slow start to the season, but Lachie Neale starting to cook, Hugh McCluggage, Hipwood and Danaher are starting to kick bags of goals. Other than the joint injuries that they've had to guys like Coleman and Lincoln McCarthy, guys like that, they're actually a pretty fit side now. I think they're building really nicely into this phase of the season, and I expect them to continue to build and show that best footy that they displayed last season. So I think there's plenty of room for improvement for the Lions, and they're going to be a scary side to come up against in the second half of the year. In 7th, I have Port Adelaide. Don't really know where Port Adelaide sit at the moment, because their best footy this year has been great. They've got great stars all over the park. I really like their list, but they had a disappointing loss against GWS over the weekend. They definitely need to find another gear. I'd hate to see them slip, because I believe in the project that Ken Hinkley is building there. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that Port finish in the top 8, because they simply have to. They have too many star players in that team to not make the top 8, but they need to go within, do some soul searching, and have a massive second half to the season. Port's a tough one. Let me know where you guys think Port will finish the season in 2024. In 6th, I have the Essendon Bombers, who are currently sitting in 4th. They've lost their last 2, but before that, they showed their best footy that I've seen in years. The worrying thought I have with Essendon is that we haven't seen a good 2 to 3 months of footy in a very, very long time. So we need to see consistent footy for the rest of the season for Essendon. I'm rooting for you Dons fans. I've loved watching Nick Martin, Sammy Durham and Zach Merritt go about it this season. It's hard to have faith in a side that quite often is turbulent and inconsistent, but I'm going to back his end to finish in the top 8. In 5th, with big bias, I have the Fremantle Dockers. Now, you're probably going to say, this is way overs on the Dockers, but I put the Dockers in at 9th during my season predictions, and everyone was like, that's way overs on the Dockers. They're going to finish bottom 4, and we've been a good side this year, and I think our best is yet to come. We're one of the best clearance teams in the competition. Our midfield usually functions very well despite that loss against the Bulldogs on the weekend, and we're the second best defensive side in the competition. A winning formula is a tough defense and a good contested side, so I think we're doing a lot of things right. Hopefully the weekend is just a mulligan and we can forget about it and launch into the second half of the season. I don't think our run home is too tough. We do have a couple of tough games. We've got Sydney coming up. We've got Essendon away. But other than that, I think it's relatively not smooth sailing. It's never smooth sailing in the AFL, but I back us in to win majority of games going into the second half of the season. Josh Tracy's having a career best season. So is Alex Pearce. Luke Ryan's in the running for All-Australian. Caleb Sarong continues to do what he does, and Hayden Young in the midfield has been a boss this year. If we had have won on the weekend, which I know we didn't, but if we had, we would be top 4 right now. So before you spam on your keyboards, 3-0 shit, all this and that, just respect that we are actually a football side in the same competition as your team, and we have as much ability to climb as anyone. In 4th, I have the Collingwood Football Club, who are currently in 3rd place on the ladder, which is crazy to think after the start that they had. They're back playing with confidence despite a bunch of injuries to their side, and they've still got that winning mentality. They were down by 9 goals against North Melbourne on the weekend and somehow managed to claw it back, and that's that winning mentality that they had last year to win the premiership. So you got to say Collingwood are right back in the premiership hunt once again. I think they have plenty of room to improve in the second half of the season with the players coming back from injury. Nick Dacos is just an absolute treat to watch at the moment. That man gets better week to week. Best contested possession player in the competition, which is something that I never would have thought when watching him develop over the last couple years, but he does it all, doesn't make a wrong decision, so dangerous when he has the ball in hand. We all know what Nick Dacos does. The signs are pointing towards Collingwood finishing in the top 4. I think they will finish 4th. In 3rd, I have Carlton, who currently sit 2nd. I don't even think we've seen Carlton's best yet, which is scary to think. And we saw that last year they went on a big run to finish the season. We could see the same thing again. Carlton are going to be a very hard side to stop in the second half of the season. They've been tested with injuries this year, Carlton, but they've had role players pop up, which shows that their system works. Their star players, Curnow and Cripps, are having massive seasons. Once they get their best 22 on the park, and if they get their best 22 on the park, they are going to be incredibly hard to stop. Carlton are as good as a lock for the top 4. In 2nd place, I have the GWS Giants. The Giants are currently in 5th, but from what we've seen this season, I think that GWS's best footy has looked the most attractive, and it's been the hardest to beat when it really gets going. I think that win against Port Adelaide over the weekend shows that they have rediscovered their brand. They've got Josh Kelly back now. Their stocks up forward are ridiculous. They've got it feels like they've got 4 key forwards like Cadman, Riccardi, Jesse Hogan, Cal Brown. They've got Toby Green, Daniels, Bedford. Like, their forward line is so stacked, and you can say the same thing about their midfield. They're defensively sound. They've got all the players. They've got the right system. They're well drilled from Adam Kingsley. They've got everything. They're definitely going to be in the running for a flag this year, the Giants, and I see them having a stronger second half of the year than they've had in the last month or so, which leaves Sydney in the driver's seat, finishing on the top of the ladder. They've been head and shoulders above the competition all year. There's no fault in this side. Their midfield is absolutely electric. It's so fun to watch. They have so much fun out there, just smiling. Guys like Warner, Heaney, Goulden, probably all Australian players. Grundy's probably in the running for All Australian as well. Amadi kicked 9 on the weekend. Papley, Hayward, they are so stacked, the Swans. They've been such a pleasure to watch this year, and I think they will finish on the top of the ladder. So now I'll go through my medal winners and my premiership prediction. For the rising star, I'm going to put George Wardlaw. Watching him play against Collingwood yesterday, he was probably one of the best on ground, just maybe behind Nick Dacos, which shows the levels that this young kid is getting to. He's a tough accumulator off the footy, finds himself on the outside, he's clean with his disposal. One of North Melbourne's more reliable players, just in his second year of footy. So very promising signs, and I think he is probably your favourite for the rising star right now. For the Brownlow, I'm just going to have to put Nick Dacos. This man's getting better week to week. He's winning the contested footy. He's getting to the outside. His work rate is unmatched. Late in games, he wins Collingwood the game. He's so hard to not look at as an umpire because he's always finding the footy. He's always coming up with big plays. He does it all, Nick Dacos. So I think he's going to be your Brownlow medalist for 2024. For the Coleman medal, I'm going to have Charlie Curnow going back to back to back. No one's doing it better than Charlie Curnow at the moment. He's so damaging. Charlie Curnow gets hot. When he kicks his first, he'll usually kick another 2 or 3 pretty quickly after. Once he cracks open the game, he turns it on his head, and he does it all. He's a great aerial threat, but he can follow up at ground level. Just an absolute weapon, and one of the best key forwards that we've seen in the last 10 years. And for the premiership, I'm going to have to say the Sydney Swans. How can you not say Sydney when they're head and shoulders above everyone at this point in the season? In my season predictions at the start of the year, I had a Brisbane and Sydney grand final, and I've backed in Brisbane. So the change that I'm going to make to my season predictions is saying that the Swans win the flag. They're, as I said, I just described them at the top of the ladder, how good they are, all the stars that they have. At the time of recording, you can't say there's a better side in the competition, so it's an easy pick. to just say that the Swans will win the flag. That's not to say that no other team can, but they're just a favourite, and I think they will do it. So there we go. There's my predictions for the remainder of the season. Comment down below your predictions. I want to see them. Get involved, and I'll be in the comments reading what you guys have to say. We're getting so close to 10K. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe and hop on board the Drewzy channel. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. So let's crack into a massive second half of the year. I've got no more travel plans. I'm keen to crack into the second half of the year. I'm wanting to grow this channel and this community as much as I can. So it'd be great to have you on board. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care, you plonkers.